World, I'm back. My name is Nicholas Coriano with Servitude Intelligent Relations. Today I wanted to make this quick video discussing some books that you may want to read if you're in the investor relations field. So I got some books here I want to show you guys. This is not an all-encompassing list, but if you are dealing with investor relations, you probably want to get a hold of these books and at some point or another, go through them, read them, and learn what you can. So I'm going to give you 4 books and then 2 bonus books. Okay, so the first book, and these are in no particular order. The first book, Investor Relations for the Emerging Company. This is by Wiley Finance, written by Ralph Reeves and John Lefebvre. Sorry for butchering that name. Investor Relations for the Emerging Company. Great book. It showcases pretty much everything you need to know about investor relations, including, what it is, modern investing theories and practices, where you should be listed, the difference between, listing over the counter and listing on major stock exchanges. So that's this book. The next book is Competing for Capital. I like this book, Investor Relations in a Dynamic World, Competing for Capital, because that's essentially what you're doing with investor relations practice. You are competing for capital. There's a lot of money out there that wants to move, and it wants to move into investments. And what you're doing is you're competing for that, and you're hoping to get the capital into your company or your investment vehicle. This is written by Bruce Marcus. Again, Competing for Capital, Investor Relations in a Dynamic World. And we are in a dynamic world when it comes to investor relations. So again, goes over basics. What is investor relations? Strategic environments with the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. More about disclosure, right? And the future of investor relations, dealing with business media and financial media. This is a great book. I like this book. Next book that you should want to read if you're in investor relations is Using Investor Relations to Maximize Equity Valuation. So this is an old book, but basically it's the same thing, right? Capital markets and their players. It tells you a little bit more about the buy side, the sell side, employees and the media and how those all interact, including with government regulations. This is a great beginning to this book. Let me see if I can come up with a table of contents just to give you a brief synopsis of what this book has in it. It tells you about press releases, conference call. I like the appendix here. It says it has press release samples, conference call script, investor relations plan template. And then again, it talks about evaluating your IR strategy, the guide of what to do and what not to do, the capital markets, how the media plays a role, how it plays a role after a bubble, and a lot of strategies, a lot of good strategies in this book. Building relationships with Wall Street, maintaining those relationships with Wall Street. So again, this book is a great book. I'll give you the title again, Using Investor Relations to Maximize Equity Valuation. And essentially that's what you're doing with investor relations. You're trying to maximize the valuation of the company, right? So that's why you see some of these big companies trade, or even smaller companies trade at a big multiple. They usually had a great investor relations program which told their story to potential investors in the right way so they could potentially buy into the company. The last book here before I get into my bonus books, Best Practices in Global Investor Relations, the Creation of Shareholder Value. And again, this goes back to the title of the last book, right, where we talk about creating the maximum valuation that you can. And this goes by telling your story correctly in investor relations. And I'll go to the table of contents here. Strategic credibility is one of the chapters here. Current state of investor relations, theories and practice, global strategy, communications. And then it has a couple case studies, which I really like here. This book is specifically good for case studies. So it shows you how certain companies, in this case, Reuters, Sony, AT&T, Toyota Motors, how they utilized strategic investor relations. So this is a great book. Let me give you guys the title one more time. Best Practices in Global Investor Relations. I get the first, second editions, used. You can get them on Amazon or eBay pretty cheap. Then I'm going to give you 2 books. This is from an industry insider I know that I've met several times. He actually signed my last book. Here, I'll give you this book now. This is Regulation A and Other Alternatives to Traditional IPO. Going public. This is signed. This is by Dave Feldman. This is a securities attorney I think he's based out of New York still. Great book. It just shows you the new Regulation A, and he kind of goes over what he went over in his last book, which was reverse mergers, taking a company public without an IPO. If you're in the micro cap sector, the micro cap stock sector, penny stock sector, or any sector, you definitely want to know about taking a company public without an IPO and through reverse mergers and through Regulation A, because currently a lot of growth companies are utilizing Regulation A to raise capital. So those are just some book recommendations. If you're in the IR space and you haven't heard of those books, pick them up. They're great reads. I also blog about investor relations on our website, servitude.com, so check that out. And of course, if you need an investor relations firm to take care of your investor relations tactics, strategies, and execution, give us a call. We're at servitude.com. You see it on the screen, and we'll be more than happy to help. Hope that was helpful, guys.